This session is the second part of Ingress Controller. Last session, we explained what is Ingress Controller, how to deploy this by using the manifest. And we deployed everything related to Ingress Controller, the node port and Ingress deployment and the service account, role-based access control, everything that was required. But we have not done the some example or deployment of some application for this Ingress controller. So today we will implement the a real-time application deployment that will be reachable by Ingress controller. So our agenda point is to make sure two things. One, the application deployment under the pod. Either it can be under the deployment format or simple a pod we can deploy, and we will set up a cluster IP service in front of pod, and then on top of these two things, we will make the ingress rule to route the traffic to those pods that will come from outside the cluster from end user. So, and the end user will use the node ports exposed by ingress controller. And another thing, we also have to test the SSL offloading. I mean, we will deploy the HTTP based and HTTPS both for the application. So when we will deploy the HTTPS, it will automatically reroute the request to HTTPS. So let's start. So first of all, let me check this cluster status. The cluster is up. My third node is not up. I will only work on one worker node. So what I will do, first of all, let me check, do I have the proper namespaces? I have dev namespace, prod, and UAT. Okay. So I will start with dev namespace. I will deploy an application. So I will do kubectl run, for example, dev app1 image Nginx, okay, in dev namespace. So in dev namespace, application is running. So it can, this is a straightforward part, but in production environment, you will definitely use some deployment. So now I will go inside this pod and I will put some meaningful web content in this pod. So under the USR share Nginx HTML, these are the default pages. I will remove these and I will put something meaningful, like I can create index, or better is to deploy some real-time application, just like we use the templates. We can use some template, just like this is a template. I will download its source code. For download, I need wget. To unzip, I need unzip. Both are not available in this pod. So quickly, I will do apt update and apt install. In real life, your image will already contain some application. But here I am just making on runtime some application inside the pod. It's now I will do wget and download the link I copied. Now I have this zip. I need to unzip this directory and it is unzipped. Let me remove this zip file and move all the content under this directory to this location. Okay, so it's mean my web root now contains some website. Let me open this website. I will check kubectl get pod hyphen o wide. If I do a curl, just want to check something is coming or not. So, okay, this is a huge page open. It's mean this was the actual website. So this was the main index.html page. So now I have to create a service in front of this pod. So kubectl expose pod dev app one and in the dev namespace port 80. I am not defining the type. I'm not defining the target port. By default, if you are not defining the target port, it is same like the port. I mean, source port and target port will be 80. And if this is you want to make different, then you can make a different target port. So, and type is by default cluster IP. And in the dev namespace, it will be created kubectl get svc, the dev namespace, it's created. So we have deployed our application and there is a service in front of this application. Okay, now we have to hand over this service to Ingress controller. Our Ingress controller is up and running. You can see in the Ingress namespace, this is the Ingress controller up and running, but this pod, this engine, Nginx as a reverse proxy, don't know what application has to route where. So to make this configuration inside this reverse engine Nginx controller, the Kubernetes is providing a resource ingress, kubectl API resources. So ingresses, short form ingress. It's a namespace based resource. Ingress class is cluster level resource. So we will create ingress and we will define the ingress class reference. Then it will make some configuration inside our ingress controller. So I have a sample ingress manifest. So let me just copy this. I will explain you. Ingress app Ingress dev app 1 dev apps. So here we have to define, this is the API variant, this is the kind, this is the name of Ingress. I will change its name to meaningful, like dev apps Ingress, and namespace is dev. This is the annotation, forward slash will be added at the end of the website, and ingress class. So yesterday in our last session, what we did, kubectl get ingress class. So ingress class name is Nginx, that is pointing to ingress controller. So how this ingress resource know where to put this configuration in this by using this ingress class. Its name is Nginx and it is pointing to Nginx controller. Then the rule, there is only one rule. Which domain name request will come from on this ingress controller that will be routed to where. So this is something like example.com. I can say something like domain1.com. Okay. And HTTP request will come to path /main. This /main, this is the complete path. There is nothing after this path, something like you can say slash some page name. So it is this /main, this is the only URL it has to resolve. And path type prefix this is the path, and backend, which service will be responsible to respond, will be binded with this domain name, domain1.com. So here I can say service name app1. So what service we created and its port name we will define here. TLS we are not doing right now. So far I will just remove this TLS part because we don't want to, we just want to understand first the port 80, how the port 80 behavior will be for this ingress controller. So let me just check kubectl get svc-n the dev namespace. It's a dev app1 and it's port number 80 in the dev namespace. So here I will write the service name and the port number, the external port. Okay, we are done. So let me apply this only one rule in the dev namespace. Remember, the ingress resource should be in the same namespace where your service and pod application is running. So here I will save this. I will apply this. kubectl get ing is a short form. The dev namespace dev apps ingress is created by using ingress class name Nginx, and this host will be resolved by the ingress controller, and address is not given, but on where it will be routed on, and it's only this URL, this URL domain name is only reachable for port 80. Okay, and if I describe this ingress resource I created in the dev namespace, so here you will get some meaningful information. When the request will come on this domain, /, this is the complete path. And at the end, forward slash will be. So it will be routed to this service on port 80, and you can see the name, the IP is also added here for the pod. Or I think this IP is for service. No, it's for the pod. So basically this service automatically update the IP of the endpoint. Yes, this is the IP of the actual pod. So if there is some deployment has multiple pods, so all the IPs will be listed here. So Ingress controller followed the service, and with the service, what endpoints are attached are mentioned here. Okay. And here, these are the events. Configuration for the dev was added to updated. So this configuration is updated in the Ingress controller. So now I need to check in the namespace Ingress, Nginx Ingress we created. You can see for the port 80 externally, we can use this node port 32733. So let me go to my browser and I will enter the IP of my master node and this node port that is pointing to port 80 inside the cluster. So here I believe 7233, it should be 32733. It should respond to my request. Just a minute, let me check. HTTP. It's not responding. What mistake I did here? kubectl get ing-n dev namespace. I think yes, it's in the dev namespace. What mistake I had done? Let me do a curl from within the cluster to this service IP. Sorry, to this SVC created in the dev namespace. Yes, it is responding. Service is good. Pod is good. Ingress controller, Ingress resource is good. Yes. The problem is actually it should be by name. I am trying to hit by IP. It will not work. So Ingress controller will only work with the domain name, not with the IP. Because Ingress controller wrote a rule, whatever request is coming for this domain, you must have, it will be routed to that service. So I am using the IP. IPs are known for the Ingress controller. So what I need a DNS server that will for my client, for my Windows machine. So far I don't have any DNS, and in Windows there is a file host file that we can use to resolve name to IP for this machine only. So what I will do, I will make a record in my host file to resolve this domain to my master node IP or any worker node IP I can use. So here I will open. This is the complete path where under the Windows System 32 drivers etc. I already browsed. So there is a file host. You need to open a notepad, and here I can make a new entry to resolve 159.101 or any worker node IP I can add, but I am using master node, and my domain name is www.domain1.com. Okay, I will save it. Let me just ping it to make sure its name to IP resolution is working. Yes, it's resolving to my master node IP. Now what I will do, just I have to put this domain name in place of this IP and then followed by the port node port associated with port 80. So here you can see the little fashion template I deployed in my pod, and this is working fine. Okay, so this request is going to this node port, and then it is going to ingress controller. Ingress controller look this domain name, and then it is given going to that specific service. Okay, this is working fine. Now let me make one more change in this ingress control. Ingress tab apps. I will add one more rule. For the rules, I will add one more rule, and in this new rule, I will define another. I will add another domain, for example, any domain, just like VU, VU training. Okay, so .com, and it is pointing to just like dev app to service in the same dev namespace, this dev namespace. So here I added a second domain in the same ingress. So I will apply this, but as you know, so far I have not created any pod or service. So you will see what will happen. kubectl apply -f. kubectl get -n in the dev namespace. Now you can see this ingress controller is responsible to resolve these two domains, but only for port 80, mean not port outside of cluster port 80. But when I will describe this, it's broken. Describe this ingress resource dev app ingress and dev. So you can see there are two domains. One is pointing to this, and second one is pointing to this service, and this service does not exist. Error endpoints, dev apps not found. So I need to create these resources. When I will create, it will automatically be updated here. So I will create kubectl run dev app 2 -n in the dev namespace image Nginx. And I will expose with the same command I will use quickly to kubectl get pod dev namespace ctl expose pod dev app 2 -n dev. Okay, so this is my second service, and I will go in this pod. And in this pod, I will go on the USR share Nginx HTML AP. First of all, I will remove everything. Then I will do apt update and apt install. Unzip and wget. So let me in parallel check any new template. Unique template I will use. Why it's taking too much time? Now it's good. Wget unzip, and I unzip, and it is directly unzipping here. It is not creating any directory. It's mean this is up. So now when I will describe this service again, and this Nginx controller, you can see this error is gone, and pod IP is associated with this service. So now when I will hit this URL, it will open the new URL. So let me add this record here to save it. And open 32733. Okay. 32733. Okay, so this is done. So our Nginx controller is working perfectly fine. You see this URL is opened on the same port, and this URL open on the same port, but with different names, automatically Ingress controller routed to different services. Okay, now we will associate the SSL traffic to for these websites. So far, we have not done any. We have done only HTTP based traffic. Okay. So now this part is done. Now we need some SSL certificate to to uh, to associate with this ingress controller. Now, if you remember yesterday, I mean, we can create our self-signed certificate, or you can have your proper these domain name based for these domains. You can purchase some certificates if these are the real domains. But I will use some self-signed certificate. And if you remember yesterday in the last session, we use this installation method with manifest, and here it was recommending us to create this secret. So I will use this secret. Let me just I will not apply this. First of all, let me investigate in which namespace it is creating this secret. I think it was the Kubernetes ingresses. Then, yeah. So this is our TLS certificate that contain TLS cert and TLS key. And it is in the namespace Nginx Ingress. I will create this in the tab namespace. Okay, so I can say self-signed TLS. Otherwise, in your practical life or professional life, you have to make this secret name and just whatever certificates you embedded in this secret, for which domain you will set the name, just like you can say domain 2 dot com TLS. But so far I am using it as a self-signed. So I'm just making this name. It is a generic certificate I will use with everyone, with all the domains. So let me just save this and apply this. kubectl get secret -n dev. And here you can see this TLS is available. Now I will add this TLS part for both of domains. This is the TLS for which domain? I will define here the domain name, domain 1, and which secret is responsible to provide the SSL certificates, and that secret name is self-signed TLS in the same namespace. Okay, so I just defined for domain 1. So let me just apply this and kubectl apply -f kubectl get ing. So you can see here now port 443 is also opened, but it's only for this domain, not for this one, because I have not defined any TLS certificate for this domain. If I do a describe to this ingress resource in this tab namespace, so here you can see yeah, TLS. This is my SSL certificate and terminates for this domain only. So this domain will not make any SSL based connectivity. So now kubectl get namespace kubectl get svc-n in the Nginx Ingress, and here the node port associated with port 443 for Ingress controller is 30412. So what I will do here, I will open HTTPS paste request for example1.com. Sorry, what was the domain name? Domain 1, sorry. Domain1.com, and then the port number associated node port for our SSL certificate. And this page cannot be reached. Domain, I think I did a spell mistake. This again pointing to HTTP cannot be reached. Twice HTTP happened. Yes, now it is giving me, it is sending requests to Ingress controller, and Ingress controller acknowledged to this browser that I have SSL certificate, but browser acknowledged that this certificate is not signed. And as I will add an exception for this certificate, now my website is open on HTTPS. So, but when the Ingress controller forwarded that request to pod, that was not SSL based. So this from my browser to Ingress controller, all the traffic, all the traffic is encrypted. So here, this is the detail of this SSL certificate that was self-signed and provided me by, sorry, this one, how I can check this certificate is valid. Yes, this is the detail of certificate. Now this is already expired. This was created so far ago, but still it's working. And it's self-signed Nginx Ingress controller. So you can create your own certificate or you can purchase for this domain. Okay, now We have done for this website, but not for this domain. If I try to open this VU training, on HTTPS, it is giving me error that Nginx controller don't know where the SSL certificate is. So that's why this page will not open. So now I need to make Nginx Ingress controller intelligent to about the SSL certificate of this second domain. Ingress dev here. What I need to do, I need to add another TLS will only be once. Just I need to and add another host. I think this will not be here like this. Let me just check. Visual training. Let me just apply, or I will check the syntax. CTL apply. Line 34, there is some mistake. Line 34, 34, this one here. I think I need to add here posts like this. Yes, now it's good. CTL saying G for tab namespace. So, and let me describe this. Ingress resource. So now you can see this a single TLS certificate secret is responsible for both the domain, but this is not possible. I mean, all the domains will have their own SSL certificates, and that will be saved in a separate secret. But so far I'm using a self-signed certificate. That's why I'm using the same secret. But in practical life, you will create a separate secret for each domain that contain the valid public and private key in that secret. Okay, so in this file, you will change here the secret name for this domain. So I applied this. Now when I will do a refresh to this page, yeah, it's opened because I provide the SSL certificate information, and this website is also opened on SSL layer. So these both, this is for HTTP, this is for HTTPS. Okay, so now if I show you this certificate, you can see this certificate is same like for this website certificate because I use the same secret. So we understand that how we can offload our SSL and how we can validate, we can access it from outside the cluster. So if I just draw a diagram to explain you what we did so far. We have a cluster. Inside the cluster, we have an application. We have another application. In front of application, there is a cluster IP service. Cluster IPs, this service get the endpoint of this pod, and there is an ingress controller running centrally in the cluster. An ingress controller is sending request of one domain to this cluster IP, one domain to this cluster IP, and how many pods are associated will automatically be used. And both and this ingress controller, okay, having two rules. And this ingress controller has a node port on top of this pod, and it is connecting with two ports, one for 80 and one for 443. And it is connecting outside the cluster, one for 80 and 443 with two node ports. And we are hitting to these two node ports. So if I type here, we can say this is port 80. Okay, this is port 443, and this is node port, actual port. I will show you. It's for 30412 4443. Okay, and this port is HTTP based. So these node ports are coming outside the cluster. I directly hit to these ports, but in practical life, you will not give these two ports to your end user. You will set up a load balancer, physical load balancer on top of these two ports. And this load balancer will be connected with your whole cluster. Means your cluster has 50 worker nodes. So all the worker nodes will be used to route the traffic on these two ports. So to from this load balancer, and this load balancer will get traffic from outside on its public IP on port 80 and 443. Okay, on port 80 and 443. Okay, so whatever traffic will come on port 80 will be go to this node port 443 for this node port. Okay, like this. So this will be the way, and if any worker node crashed, so that load balancer will automatically remove that worker node from its load balancing list. So this service, this node port service, is span across the whole cluster. All the nodes can resolve these ports. So with this way, you can make your website publicly available with proper SSL certificates available in your ingress controller as a secret. And this load balancer has a public IP you can make in your public DNS, whatever record you added in your ingress controller for the domain with the public IP of this load balancer. And then you can make a publicly available proper website or whatever application you want to publish. So this was the overview I gave you. I have not implemented this load balancer part, This we will do when we will deploy our cluster in our uh, in some cloud. So then we will provision some load balancer. But for on-prem clusters, mostly some hardware level of load balancer is used. Okay, so this was, we have tested it successfully. I directly showed you with the node port. I did not test any load balancer based traffic. Now, the another part of this Ingress controller is uh, we have to, there is a second type of Ingress controller. Mean sometime you will have multiple, a single domain. A single domain will be that contains the multiple path, and each path for a domain is pointing to different uh, pod. Each pod is providing a specific component of your application. This is the core of DevOps, mean microservices. Mean what is the benefit of microservices? Mean each functionality of your application is running in a different pod. What is monolithic? Everything is running in a single machine, inside a single instance. But in when you are developing an application for microservices based, so each component of your application, each functionality or business logic will run independently in a different pod. So now, if I open this Ingress resource, and for example, I want this Ingress domain one, for example, domain one I have, and it has of some application business logic, or I can say something like app. So www.domain1.com/app1, I can say it is providing some application under this domain. So it will be routed to this service. And there is another path I will add. I can add the multiple paths like this. So just to confirm the syntax, yes, I just need to follow the two multiple paths. App2, and it is pointing to another service. I can say it's some different service I will create for this one. I will create some different service for this one, or I will add something new directory inside the same pod. Okay, let me create this like app1 and app2. Okay, I can say my domain one, app1, and domain one, app2. Okay, so how this will work? When I will send request to domain1.com/app1, it will open the application from this service. And when I will say domain1.com/app2, it will open from this service. So now I need to create two new pods. Okay, I will not use the existing pod because those pods does not contain this path. So I will create quickly these two pods that will have, one pod will have app1/app1 in its web root, and second pod will have /app2 in my web root, and then I will create a service in front of those pods with this name. So let me create kubectl run app1 in dev namespace for image Nginx, and second app, this one. And quickly let me expose this. Expose pod app1 in dev namespace port 80, port 80. And one more thing, I have to follow the name of the service should be domain1 app1, whatever I defined in my Ingress resource. Second pod app2, its services app2, kubectl get svc in tab namespace domain1 app1, domain2 app2 associated with these pods. Okay, pods are running. Now let me just check the Ingress UAT Ingress tab has domain1 app1 and domain2 app2. Okay, I was just validating these service names. Now I will go in each pod and I will create a directory inside its web root, just like /app1 app2. So kubectl execute I'm deleting everything here. mkdir app1, and I will create some file under this directory. Okay, I created this file under this pod, under this directory -l. Okay, this file is created. Same thing I will do in second pod. I will delete everything and I will create a directory app2, and I will go under the app2 and I will create a file I am application2. Okay, now just to validate it, kubectl get svc -in dev namespace curl to this IP/app1 Slash, yes, it is showing me I am application 1. And when I will do a curl to second IP, it is giving me message I am. So just think like you deployed some pod, some application in pod that contain some path based application access. Okay, one pod is providing this path to provide some application functionality. Second pod is providing another container image is providing some other path. So when you are working with API based application, those are path based. So I just create a sample application in front of you in Nginx, but it can be any application. So now we are done. We just validate the part2. Now I will, I think I need to kubectl apply this ingress dev namespace. I have not applied this so far. So for this domain, these two services will work. Each are pointing to different ports on the backend. Okay, I think the syntax is good. Service name port, path type prefix backend. Okay. Now I have to apply this. kubectl get ingress dev, and if I describe so here you can see this domain is used for these two paths, and each path is pointing to different service, and that service is pointing to these pods IPs. So far I have only one pod, that's why it's showing only one IP. If you have some deployment associated with this service, then you will see the list of all the pods running behind this service. Okay, let me now access this domain1.com with /app1. So domain1, this port is this, and /app1. Actually, it is it removed the port number. So because I have to, it's HTTPS based request. Yes, it's HTTP based. I will send request on HTTP port. It's 32733. 32733. So this is the default behavior of the browser. It is automatically removing the port, and it is pointing to HTTPS. Okay, let me try with the HTTPS, or let me open this whole thing, domain1 in bad request. Why bad request? Domain1 /app1. I think 30412 is HTTPS, for HTTPS, not for HTTP. kubectl get svc. This ingress has 32733. 30412 is for HTTPS. Port number I provided wrong. Again, it is trying to hit HTTPS. We'll try again, otherwise I will only use this. I think this is some default behavior of the browser. I need to provide the port of HTTPS 30412. Yes, this is working. So you can see I send request on HTTPS. So once you have applied the SSL certificates for your domain in Ingress controller, you don't need to hit to port 80. Try port HTTP 443 only. So this is my application 1, and now when I will use app 2, you can see it's application 2. So this is application 1. So how this is working, this is coming from a different port, and 2 is coming from a different port, IAM application 2. So with this way we can do the path-based ingress rule, mean one domain having multiple application functionality, but the path is different. Each path is providing to pointing to different pod, a different application running in a different pod under different deployment. So this is the way. So now I gave you the idea how we can use the ingress controller in detail.